Greetings my good people. Happy Easter holidays. So leo nilikuwa nataka kuangalia kitu moja enye inasumbua a lot of people, especially when it comes to sorting out your tasks. So have you ever found yourself in a situation where you have a lot to do that it becomes difficult even to sort of orient yourself and figure out which is the most preferable thing to do at a particular point and sort of abdicate the rest? Inafikanga point, let's assume you're an entrepreneur na umeanza biashara, and then hii biashara ina grow, let's say for a period of 1 year. The business grows to become this huge conglomerate. Now wewe as an individual haujui sort of a specific way to navigate that. Well, hiyo inakuanga shida, especially na CEOs na department ya human resource. Inakuanga such a huge impediment when it comes to the progress of the company ama any institution. It may even be a government institution ama a parastatal. So shida inakuanga ni how do you navigate the problem of having a huge number of workers na for them to to align themselves with the ethos of that company, that particular company, whether you are the CEO, whether you are the HR, whether you are a manager, ama at the lowest level you are a hands-on employee. So shida inakuanga ni huyu CEO, how does he or she navigate that problem of, you see, assume you have 10,000 workers. That's a huge number of workers. Now you want to find to find a proper way in which you can instill the discipline, the values and the mission of your company to each and everyone. Kuna kuangana na shida that how do you transfer responsibility, ama how do you transfer responsibility from the CEO, you the CEO ama the owner, how do you transfer it from the topmost level all the way down to the level of employees? Another problem is, assume you're in school. I'm a student. I'm a veterinary medicine student. So it gets to a point where units zinakuwa mingi, but the main goal ni kupata degree. But huwezi pata degree until upite, you get a good grade. That's a 50% in all these units from first year to fifth year. So shida inakuanga ni how do I orient myself, ama how should I navigate such a problem? Now kwa veterinary medicine units ni mingi, so there is a way that unaweza amua you focus on a particular department. Let's say unaweza focus na department ya parasitology, inakuanga VPMP, parasitology, microbiology and pathology. Na kwa hii department bado unaweza semaje, unaweza narrow down into microbiology, pathology na parasitology. Now let's take a unit like pathology. So pathology unaweza divide into special pathology, systemic pathology ama general pathology. So I think unaweza ona trend hapa ni tuna narrow down. Bado kwa hii, let's take something like systemic pathology. Unaweza narrow down, uanze kufocus na respiratory system, ufocus na the gastrointestinal system, ufocus na the urinary system. Na bado unaweza chukua the urinary system, ufocus mpaka kwa the level of the bladder, uangalie the ureter, uangalie the urethra. So that's how you solve the problem. So it brings us to the story of the day. This idea of you take something and then una divide into its micro level ama micro unit, so that it may be easier for you to manage. So as an individual, remember that's the goal. We always have to focus on the individual and not the whole community ama society ama the state. So kutaka kuelewa hii idea vizuri, it's called the idea of subsidiarity. And subsidiarity is where una divide, let's say uko na a huge task, so una divide into small micro levels for the whole task to be a little bit manageable. Now the story of the day ndio ilikuwa explain how exactly do you do it and why you should do it in the first place. So in Exodus, I really love the story of Exodus because it starts with tyranny. That's the exact reason why I'm attracted to that story. And then you might ask yourself, well, what's the tyranny? Is it the tyranny of the state, or is it the tyranny of the of your own presuppositions, or your own assumptions? Well, it can be both. On a metaphysical level, it can be the tyranny you impose on yourself as an individual. On a literal level, it can be the tyranny of the state, because the Israelites were under the thumb of the tyrannical the Pharaoh, the Egyptian leader. So hapo ndio story inaanza. It starts when the Israelites are under tyranny. So as it progresses, God anaita nani Moses, anamwambia, hey, I've heard the cry of my people, and from there you can get a sort of a definition of God. Well, God is the spirit that manifests itself inside of you. I'm amongst a group of people when they are in opposition of tyranny. See, Jew, like these people are under the thumb of the tyrannical Pharaoh, and then wanaanza kucomplain, wako like, we crave, at least itafika time where we will be free. So God anaita Moses, anamwambia, hey, I want you to go back to Egypt, and then you go tell Pharaoh that, hey, let my people go so that they may go to the desert and worship me. So it's not that Pharaoh and are set free just for the sake of it. No, they are being set free in order to go and worship God in the desert. So there's only some sort of responsibility. It's not just it's not just freedom. I'm a freedom from tyranny. I'm a freedom from constraint. It's like, let my people go so that they may worship me in the desert. These people move from Egypt, and then they get into the desert. That's the story of life. You see, you never move from conviction all the way to knowing. You don't move from your tyrannical presupposition all the way to the good land, ama the good place, ama the promised land. No, the journey way inakuanga hivi. You realize something. This is the journey of learning, by the way. Is you move from conviction, kitu inakukujia, and then you don't shift like directly to the promised land where you just grasp everything and understand how things work. No, you move from conviction into the desert. Now it's from the desert that you can be able to move to the promised land. Na hiyo ndo story ya Exodus. So wanatoka from Egypt, and then they get to the desert. Now wakiwa kwa desert, of course they were slaves. Hawa watu walikuanga slaves. They have never managed themselves. They've never even managed a group of 10 people. Sasa unaona kuna kitu ina lack. The idea of leadership in a lack from the micro level of the individual. The individual doesn't even know how to govern himself, how to orient himself in the world. So hiyo ndio shida. And then wako kwa desert, na as I've just said, they don't know how to govern themselves. So kuna hii nini na conflict inatokea amongst the Israelites. Now, Moses, being a good leader, he sets up himself to be a judge. So what we need, like, you see, Moses is an archetypal leader, because aliundergo hiyo process even before God amwite. You remember, for those who have read the Bible, kuna time Moses alikuanga Egypt, and then he ended up killing an Egyptian wakati aliona anapiga an Israelite. So he had to flee Egypt, because if the Pharaoh angesikia that Moses ameua an Egyptian, obviously pia yeye angekuwa executed. So Moses had to run away from Egypt. So he went from Egypt to the desert, and then from the desert ndiye kaenda kwa, was it Jethro? Yeah, kaenda Jethro. That's where he met his wife. So anyway, unawezaona Moses aligo through hiyo journey, like from tyranny to the desert into the promised land. So Moses, through that whole process, Moses was able to become a good leader. Moses, nimwambia, set up himself to become a leader. Juu sasa hawa watu wanapigana, ka conflict kakiarise kidogo, wanaanza tu kupigana. They don't have the software to deal with a problem on an individual level. So a typical Israelites wouldn't know how to navigate through that. So the only way that he can express himself is through external conflict. So kukakuwa na hiyo shida, and Moses being a good leader, nimewambia, aka step up akasema, okay guys, I know I'm the one who led you from Egypt, na sasa tuko kwa desert na vitu zimekuwa mingi, so how about I become your judge? So kama mko na shida, just come to me and we can solve that problem and we can find a viable solution, which is actually a good idea. So Moses anafanya hii kitu for a very long time. I think it was 4 years ama 5 years. You know, anamka asubuhi, there's this Israelites wenye wanapigana, wako na conflict, and then anamwambia, okay, kujeni hapa hivi, I'll solve the problem on your behalf. Now, not that, I'll solve the problem on your behalf. So that's exactly what he does. Anyway, it gets to a point enye nania na his father-in-law, Jethro, he notices something. He notices, okay, as far as you are the judge, kuna kitu unamisa hapa yenye wewe hauoni. So what Jethro does ni anaenda na ana confront Moses. Anaambia Moses, hey, kuna shida hapa. As much as you're mediating between the two conflicting Israelites, kuna kitu hauoni hapa. Hawa wase wametoka from tyranny. Hawajai govern themselves. Hawajui hata leadership ni nini. Na saizi, as far as vitu ziko mbaya, what you are doing ni unafanya wa abdicate your responsibility. They have to realize that they themselves, the individual, is sovereign. The individual should be independent. In order for us to achieve a goal, yenye tutafika into the promised land, na kila mtu aishi harmoniously, the individual has to know, has to figure out that he actually needs to govern himself. So kinye wewe unafanya, it's not a bad thing, but it will get to a point where the responsibility of the individual will be abdicated. Sasa tukiwa na shida, I don't have to think, all I need to do is, niko na shida na wewe, we just walk na tunaenda kwa Moses and Moses will figure it out. So Jethro alirealize hiyo kitu, and then akaenda kambia Moses, akamwambia no, vitu mbili zita happen. Nimekwambia, number one, the individual hatajua kugovern himself, and number two, you'll end up becoming the same Pharaoh that you free the people from, simply because kila kitu wewe ndio unafanya. It will get to a point that you'll assume the role of a supreme leader. Now you don't want that to happen. Ukisoma pia Exodus, by the way, Moses alikuwa na proclivity to lean towards that side of a benevolent dictator. So Kenya Jethro akamwambia, I have a solution to this, and this is where the whole thing of subsidiarity inakuja. Akamwambia, what you need to do ni, see, the Israelites are many, just assemble them and then divide them into groups of 10 groups. Now kwa kila group, have them elect a leader ama an elder. Now wakisha elect an elder, unachukua all these elders na unawaseparate into groups, na each group they have to elect another elder, and so they have to do it all the way to the top mpaka ikufikie wewe, so that the individual atajua kujigovern. And number two, vitu hazitakaa ngumu kwako. Na the moment vitu zimekaa ngumu kwako, utaanza kuwa bitter, utaanza kuwa resentful, na anger will be the possessing spirit, and you don't want that to be the case, because there will be no difference between you and the Pharaoh. So what you need to do ni exactly what I've told you. Divide our say into groups of 10. Now have these people who elect a leader, and you do that all the way to the level of you as Moses, as their leader, mtu mwenye aliwatoa Egypt na anawapeleka the promised land. And so that was actually a good thing. Hiyo ndio ilisolve problem ya the Israelites in a very big way. Yes, as the story ina progress, bado walikuwa na shida zingine, but that thing of subsidiarity, where you divide things into its simplest level, ama simplest unit, ama simplest inaitwaje, domain, inakuwa rahisi sana for you to actualize your role. So ukiangalia most of the companies Kenya, uangalie not companies but CEO ama founders, take someone like alikuwa anaitwa nani, Chris Kirubi, the late Chris Kirubi. Kenye Chris Kirubi alikuwa anafanya, juu umse alikuwa na a lot of companies. Nilikuwa naona place fulani ilikuwa, is it City Waves, kuna YouTube channel inaitwa City Waves, and walikuwa wanasema that in 2001 kulikuwa na company yenye ilikuwa inalipa Chris Kirubi 50 million worth of dividends. Like umeinvest kwa company na wakikupatia wakati wana distribute the dividends, Chris Kirubi alipatiwa like 50 million. And that was not the only company yenye alikuwa ameinvest in. Kulikuwa na other companies mingi sana. So utajiuliza, how comes one person ana manage all this company? Nini inafanya vitu zikuwe rahisi kwake? Na ukiangalia wasee wengine, hata kale ka biashara kadogo yenye ako nayo inakuwa ngumu sana yeye kumanage. Well, it's the whole idea of the principle of subsidiarity. So kuna Chris Kirubi hapa na chini yake kuna like 10 people. Hawa 10 people wako responsible for a group of, let's say, 100 people. So ikitu inaenda mpaka inafika point when you realize, oh, Chris Kirubi actually ana manage a group of 10,000 employees. But haifanyi peke yake. Incorporate hiyo idea ya subsidiarity where kwa kila kampuni yenye ako nayo amekuja na hiyo idea that tuna divide watu into groups, and then each group ina elect a leader. Sawa, na kila leader wanakuja pamoja, then they form a group, and then kila group ina produce a leader, a capable leader, that is. Na ikitu inaendelea all the way mpaka kwa level ya someone like Chris Kirubi. So hivi ndio hawa wase wanafanya, these great billionaires, these great people, the great entrepreneurs of our country. Hivyo ndio wanafanya. Alafu wao wame structure in such a way that the only thing that they are concerned about ni portfolio. So msee anakuja anaangalia portfolio yake, anaona company so and so imenipatia 50 million per annum, na last year ilinipatia 60 million. So there has to be a problem. So aendi ku confront the worker, no. Anaenda kwa the next level, anauliza the manager, hey, shida iko wapi? And then the manager anaenda kwa ile group yake. So inaendelea hivyo inafika mpaka kwa the level of the worker. That's what you do when you're in a bad situation. Uko na a huge task. Kama I think it happened to me like last week. Kulikuwa na vitu mingi nilikuwa nafaa kufanya. But then I realized, kenye naweza fanya ni siwezi deal na nini yote at once. It will take a toll on me. So kenye nafanya ni divide easy task into its simplest unit. Sawa, a micro level, so that kila task ikuwe easy for me to do. That's exactly what God did na nini, the idea of the Holy Spirit. See, kuna God, you can assume God, not you assume. There are communities that perceive God to be the king of the universe. So kuna hii domain, na mtu mwenye ana surround this sphere is God. And then kuna continents. Sawa, na kila continent iko na a union. Take something like Europe, iko na the European Union. Na each union iko na a chairman. So kuna the African Union iko na chairman, kuna the European Union iko na chairman. And then kwa kila continent kuna a country. So a country iko na a president ama a king. Sawa, ama a prime minister. Take a case like Israel iko na prime minister, UK iko na prime minister. Na kila country iko na state ama iko na county. The United States of America has states. Take a country like Kenya, iko na counties. Na kila county iko na a leader. It's the counties, then kuna sub-county, then kuna constituencies, and then from the constituencies kuna ward. Na kila ward iko na a village. So unaona imetoka all the way from the universe, imeteremka all the way tumefika mpaka kwa village. Na kwa kila village kuna a family. Kwa kila village kuna maybe a clan. Na kwa kila clan kuna sets of families. Na kwa kila family kuna sasa the members of the family. Tunatoka all the way from God, tunafika mpaka kwa the individual. It's the universe, continents, countries, states ama counties, from counties kuna sub counties, from sub counties kuna constituencies, from constituencies kuna wards, from wards kuna what, clans, from clans tunaenda paka kwa the level of the family, from the family tunafika kwa the individual. Sasa hiyo idea ya subsidiarity na waki hivi, see there's a god, alafu kuna vile kila continent kuna vile ina operate, kuna vile Asia ina operate, kuna vile Europe ina operate, kuna vile America ina operate, North na South, kuna vile Africa ina operate. So unaweza sema kuna an animating spirit kwa kila continent. Haya, kwa kila continent kuna country. So kuna vile United States ama the Americans wana behave sio the same na vile Mexicans wana behave. Haya, pia ukikuja kwa country, kwa continent ama continent like Africa, vile same people from Nigeria wana behave sio the same way vile Kenyans behave. Kuna the animating spirit kwa the Nigerians na kuna kwa Kenyans, because you look at someone, you identify, this is a Nigerian. See, by the way they dress, the way they speak, the way they present themselves. So ukikuja pia Kenya utasema huyu maybe ametoka Nairobi, ama huyu ametoka Kisumu, ama huyu ametoka Garissa, ama ametoka Turkana, ama ametoka Mombasa. And then ukifika kwa county kama kama Mombasa, kuna vile watu wa specific region ya Mombasa wana behave. So unaona kitu ina reduce mpaka tunafika kwa the individual. So even the idea ya the Holy Spirit ina work. So it's from God, inateremka mpaka kwa the individual. And if hii kitu haingekuwa ina operate as an individual, then tungekuwa tuna operate in a state of chaos. So kenye unafanya ni make sure each and every level imekuwa represented, na uifanye in a way, I'm talking in reference to a leader. Usifanye in a way that abdicates the responsibility of you as a leader. Make sure una balance hivi vitu. Una make sure that yes, I'm a leader, I'm tasked to lead these people. Na sifai kufanya kitu enye ina shade, the sovereign status of the individual. Huyu mse pia kuna vitu yeye anafaa kujifanyia yeye mwenyewe. Actually kuna kuanga na a rule of thumb nasemanga ni usifanyie mtu kitu yenye anaweza jifanyia yeye peke yake. You see, that can be applied in the family. You as a parent, usifanye kitu yenye mtu yeye anaweza jifanyia. If they can clean their room, let them. Don't try to meddle in their business. Sasa unaingia unasema room yao ni chafu, let me help them, and they're capable of doing it. No, because it will get to a point where they'll have to govern themselves, but sasa hawajai learn, then they'll have to come back to you, nisaidie kufanya A, B, C and D. But if you incorporate that idea of subsidiarity, itakusaidia in everything, whether you have tasks, whether you have responsibilities, whether you are leading a county, whether you are a political leader, whether you're an entrepreneur, a CEO, a manager. If you just incorporate that idea of subsidiarity, itakusaidia sana. Even as a student, whether you're in primary, secondary or tertiary level, incorporate your idea ya subsidiarity. Useme okay, hii kitu ni kubwa, how do I fragment it so that ikuwe hizi little fragments zenye ninaweza handle at a particular point. So see, ati ina focus na the whole thing, no, ina focus na a unit per time, and that will enable you live a harmonious life. So think about that. Is it a good idea? The spirit of ama the principle ama the philosophy of subsidiarity. Ukitaka kuelewa vizuri, just go to the book of Exodus. Mali Jethro anaexplainia Moses hizo vitu, anamwambia split the Israelites into groups of 10. So that's it for today. It's a Easter holiday. Yeah, it's a Easter holiday. Na pigeni sherehe, enjoy the death and resurrection of Christ. So mekuwa true sana. See you in the next episode. Ciao.